Welcome, Igniters! I'm your host, Michele Quevedo, and today we have a special host and also the co-host for Ignite Your Essence. We're talking about Michele Wilson, Michele A. Wilson. And before we get started, let's learn a little more about Michele. We're having a technical difficulty here.
Michele A. Wilson is a heart-centered transformational leader dedicated to life mastery and being a service to others. For over a decade, Michele has taken her 20 years of entrepreneurship experience in work-life balance and has coached over 300 businesses and families to start and protect the businesses they love in harmony with raising a family and making a bigger impact. Michele's big purpose is to help other mompreneurs who are on the same path so that they can alleviate the stress of doing it alone, excel in their businesses, and thrive as mothers. Known as a heart-centered transformational leader, Michele A. Wilson is an intuitive business coach, Mompreneur, a 2-time best-selling author, a columnist at the Los Angeles Tribune, and a mentor to international business students, and now on Ignite Your Essence TV talk show. Michele Wilson, welcome.
Hi, Michele. How are you?
I am well and blessed. Thank you so much, Michele. I am so thrilled to be here and really honored to be on the show with you today.
Oh, wow. Well, the honor is mine. Everyone has seen the intro video, and you're quite accomplished, Michele. And I just wanted to delve in deep now that we know a little more about you. Michele, I find you extraordinary. And if anyone deserves the title Mompreneur, I really believe it's you. But I have to ask you a question. What exactly is a mompreneur?
So a mompreneur is really just a mom who's doing it all, right? She's changing diapers, taking kids to school, doing homework, but she's also an entrepreneur where she's running her own business. It could be from home. It also could be from a storefront, but really it's just those two words put together. And there has been some stigma about the mompreneur word, but I embrace mompreneur because I really am thrilled that I can be a mom and be proud of being a mom and also running my business at the same time. So that's what a mompreneur is. Really, we're double duty. We are doing, being a mom is a full-time job and being an entrepreneur is a full-time job. So it's really 2 full-time jobs put together.
And that's what we think about. We think about mothers. In fact, isn't that the trepidation that any woman has, even if they're trying to have a baby? Once you're pregnant, everybody's a little nervous. Like, wow, that's a lot. That's a full-time job already. So I wanted to ask you a question, though, Michele. How important are working mothers to the American economy? Do you have any metrics or any understanding how women contribute as mothers?
I don't have the metrics right offhand, but I do know that, and that is such a great question. My feelings as far as motherhood is like we give birth to the next generation, right? And it's our duty. And over the years, us as moms have to go into the workforce, so we're not at home a lot with our children as much as we want. So we have daycare, raising our children, and we have teachers, impacting our children's lives and so forth like that. But I do know that in entrepreneurship, man, there is about 4 million mothers who are moms and entrepreneurs. And what I really find with that statistic is that we can able to be at home to nurture our family again, right? And we're able to build our business too. So I really think it's important for us as mothers to be there for our children.
Wow. Okay. So you know this whole mother thing, and I kind of want to go a little deeper if you'll allow me. So you became a mother quite early, fairly early. Is that correct? You were considered a teenage mother?
Yes, I was 17 when I became a mom. And I said that, I had big dreams when I was, in school. I wanted to be a professional dancer. And I said, my dreams kind of slipped away when I became a mom. And so my parents you got to go to school, get good grades, go to college, which I did. And I was working 2 jobs, going to college, getting that business degree. But what I found after college, and I got married, I was still struggling as a mom. And I got married and then got divorced, got married and divorced again. But, just life happened. And I just always found that I was raising 3 kids on a single income. And so I always had kind of like, working full time. And then I had always a part-time job or a part-time business on the side. And then finally, about 20 years ago, I took the leap and went full time as an entrepreneur.
Wow. When I think about this, a lot of times young mothers and even their family members and people in their life, when a young woman gets pregnant, especially a teenager, everybody thinks, oh, well, that's it. Life's over. And you had a support system. Your parents supported you by saying, hey, just continue with your education. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
Yeah, it was really when I was going to school, actually, I was in drill team. As I said, I danced and performed all over Southern California. And when I was in drill team, we had these rules. You couldn't smoke, you couldn't drink, you couldn't swear. So let alone having a baby, right? So my parents, and I'll tell you the story. The real story is when I got pregnant, I didn't tell my parents and I kept it a secret. So they didn't find out like 2 to 3 days before I actually gave birth. I was
you were
marching.
one of those parents? I read
Yes.
about them in the newspapers. How did you
Yeah, I
do
was one of
that?
those
How did you
parents.
hide
So
the baby?
because I was in drill team and I was marching like 10 miles in parades, I was dancing, I was still doing splits while I was pregnant. It was all about the mindset. So that's when I learned about how powerful a mindset is, because I kind of denied to myself. I'm like, see,
I'm not pregnant.
my dad is a deacon. So I was a deacon daughter, right? Okay, I'm in school. I had all these things going on. So being pregnant wasn't one of those things. So I was a scared little teenage girl when I got pregnant. But when it finally came out, I couldn't hide it anymore because I gave birth. My water broke and I couldn't deny it anymore. And my parents are like, they had no choice to accept me and my baby. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Wow. Kind of like, hey, surprise. The next day, I have a
Yeah,
baby.
pretty much. I had nothing for him and literally put him in a little drawer, when I brought him home. And you know what my parents said? They were so supportive of me. They're like, go back to school. Really, no one even knew I had a baby. I continued. I finished out of high school. I was like in a parade like 4 or 5 weeks later, marching again because I just loved dancing. And then they said, go to college and get a good grade, which I did.
That is incredible. That makes sense though, Michelle, because I've seen you quoted where you say your dreams matter. You raise babies, you can raise babies and businesses and live a fulfilling life. And you're showing us the steps of how you did that. I still can't get over, Michelle, that you hid the baby. But growing up, I have known some PKs, as everybody called them, the preacher kids, and sometimes, hey, you guys are a little smarter on how to do that. I wish I knew how to hide a baby. Can you believe that? We have a lot of guests coming in and they're speaking, and wow, they're all for the mompreneur. So, so there you go. I have another question though. We talked about you're talking about entrepreneurship. You always thought about businesses. You had to raise 3 children on one salary. Clearly, you had to think about another stream of income. Were you always thinking this way, even when you were a teenage mother? Did you always feel that it was up to you to determine how you're going to bring more money in your life?
Absolutely. And that's kind of how I got off balance in my early years, is because I was so focused on, supporting my kids and my children.
Yeah, I
And
can imagine.
so, I was always working. And so I didn't know anything differently. Right. So when I was going to school, I did go to college, but I was still working a job. And sometimes I found it just wasn't enough. So I had to take another job. So that's how I kind of learned. I won't say balance, because I always say there's not such thing as balance. I teeter totter, but I was always focusing on, raising my kids and making sure that they're provided for. And, there was a time where I was working a lot and I didn't feel like I was present for them. So then, I had to really switch that, because I wanted to be a present mom and there for them, but also make sure I bring in the income to support us.
The reason why I'm asking so much, thank you so much for answering this, is because I really want people to see where you came from and the
Mm,
fact that you can. You exude so much confidence, Michelle, and you're very well versed. And you seem to take entrepreneurship so light. Well, it seems effortless. And yet I know you're working at it. What is your secret? What is this mompreneur universe? Will people know exactly how to seem more flexible with the teeter-totter? Because you said you don't like balance,
Right.
but we're on the teeter-totter. So somewhere on the teeter-totter, we want to have fun, right?
Right. It's that balancing, unbalance on purpose, right? So, you balance, it's really unpurposeful being unbalanced. And really what the Mompreneur universe is, what I found like over the years, being an entrepreneur, I felt like I had to come into entrepreneurship more as a male energy, right? And so a lot of things that were going on in my life, I always had to keep it in silence, kind of like, getting on a live stream. Sometimes I'm like, I have a son who's has a chronic illness and so forth. So just making sure he's okay and everything. And I shared one time, one time I had a toilet that was stopped, and so I'm still doing mom things, but I still have to show up as, like you said, this person of just being able to handle business. And so what Mompreneur universe is really just so that us moms can come together and talk about those family things that we can't normally talk about in business. Because you know what? We have this thing that's called mommy guilt, right? Because if we're not spending time on your business and you want to be with your family, you feel guilty. But if you're working, with your family, then you feel guilty because you're not working on your business. So there's this mommy guilt going on. But I just want to create a community, a platform where moms can come together, just talk about, what they're going through and elevate each other so that we can support each other in our journey. So that's really what Mompreneur Universe is all about.
Wow. Okay. So you moved into something else I wanted to follow up with on that. But before that, I want to ask one of the questions. We have our guest. Hi, Kathy McAfee. She asked, what advice would you have to others to better understand their worth, value, even when they're not paid for their work at home? Wow. That's a great question.
That is a great question, Kathy. And I want to tell you, that is my number one thing that I've worked through over the years is my value and my worth, because I knew that I kept showing, I felt like I had this groundhog day, because I would work really hard and I'm like, why am I here again in the same place? And it was because I had this unworthiness. And I really had to work harder on myself, my inner self. I am a believer. So prayer, gratitude. It took time for me to really understand my worth, because I always looked at my bank account. And when I looked at my bank account, because I was always a hard worker, but I look at my bank account, I'm like, oh, my bank account isn't reflecting all the work I'm doing. So I would, my worth was like looking at my bank account. But now I really understand that is not my worth. My bank account is my worth. It's the person who I am always growing to become. So I had to learn to to love myself, give myself breaks, and just really, I have a friend who's always saying, celebrate your wins, because every time I get a win, I'm like on to the next, like, okay, what else do I have to do? So, it's a process of really, understanding your worth. And it's not just about money. It's about you as a person, your inner strength, it's just about, like I said, for me, it's being there for my family and being present for my family. It's about, loving my God. So these are the things that I've learned to really understand my worth. And let me tell you, there's been many times where because I am a giver, I come from a giving family, that I've given my time, didn't get paid for it. But I always know that God is going to actually, what I say, you can always give and you receive more. It's not necessarily from that person, but the universe is going to come back and, going to make me whole again. So I do have that belief, but it is a process of learning your worth. And it starts with actually surrounding yourself with people that are acknowledging your worth. So that's one of the things.
Wow. That you kind of touched on something that was really interesting. You were talking about time management before, and there was another quote that you had, which was about work-life balance, and how it's not about better time management. It's about redefining balance by making choices that align with your purpose, passion, and family. Hopefully I got the quote right. So my question to you, Michele, going back to what we talked about, guilt. How does a responsible woman, not just mothers, but how does a responsible woman get rid of the guilt of blocking out time for themselves? Do you have examples of when you did that for yourself, and did it go well?
Well, it started off when, like I said, I'm a work in progress, but like about 3 years ago, I was running a business for about 10 years, and I was, running hard, focusing. I was taking care of my son who was ill. And I found myself like driving 30,000 miles a year, trying to get to my appointments. And usually I would always take a week off for a self-care. My son would go to a special camp for kids with illness, and I would take a few days off. And at this point, I woke up the next morning and I couldn't move. Every bone in my body I was aching. My head was aching. And I thought there was something very, seriously wrong. I guess I had really burnt out and exhausted myself. And I thought at that time, if I don't change things, I won't be here for my family and for my son. So it was actually hitting burnt out and exhaustion, which really I had to look at my life. And it really started was like, what is it that my why, and what I redefined success, because as I said earlier, going back to, I was defining success as money in the bank, the cars I drive, all those physical things. So I redefined the success, and I really understood what was important to me. And health was one of those things that I put to the top of the list, because I realized if you don't have health, you don't have anything else. Your health is truly your most wealthy asset.
Wow. Yeah, I could keep on going on with that, but I wanted to bring up a couple of our viewers that are on Facebook. We had Kimberly Todd Toulis who totally said yes, curate a tribe, and then of course Kathy McAfee is saying surround yourself with people. Everybody's resonating with this message. So you go with this step. You surround yourself with people. You create your tribe. You're talking about being focused on your passion. Did you mention your higher purpose rather than the bank account, which is something that we're geared to do all the time? Did you find, Michele, that there was actually an elevation in your bank account and your lifestyle when you shifted your mindset that way?
Absolutely. And we talk about it always, like in money and that scarcity mindset. So when I started changing from scarcity to sufficiency, I realized, I had so much more. I didn't really have to worry as much, because things seem to get paid when you change your mindset. And I just want to share, going back to that tribe, I've been I'm part of the Ignite tribe now, so I'm really excited. But there was a 12-year period where I've been part of a mastermind, and we talk about vision and goals, and that really helped me learn to become a master planner, but in a way where it's really in alignment with who I want to be, what I want to do, and what I want to have in life. So, it's kind of both of those. I hope I answered both of those questions, but yeah, that's really it.
You totally did, but you've always known that you needed to surround yourself with people. I think when you talked about Money and You, and of course, Dame Doria Cordova, I loved what she had to say, and I think that touched resonated with you, because I saw you in the comments where she said that there is no solopreneur.
No solopreneur. Yeah. And I've
No
done it
one
for
does it alone,
we
right?
don't do it. No, like say, what did they say? The self-made millionaire. There's no one that's really self-made. You definitely have to have a
I
team, and a
believe it.
team. I'm learning more that team comes in different ways. We can all have our own businesses and still support each other. That's a team. I think it's so amazing. We think that a team is someone who has to be on payroll, and that's not the case. So I love what new team means now. And for me, team means, together, everyone achieves miracles. So that's what team means to me.
And what Lauda Ibarra said, sufficiency as well.
Yes,
team
definitely.
sufficiency. It's really funny. I don't think that teams work too well without that focus on that sufficiency. So I love that. All right. So where I wanted to ask the next question is, you talked about being purposely driven. You talked about time management. How do we let our purpose drive our time? Because a lot of us were like you said, we let the bank account drive the time. Like, I'm tired, but oh man, if I take that one call, or I meet with that one person, or maybe I go to that one connection, something may happen and I may get a rise in my bank account. What do you say? How do we let our purpose drive our time when we think about all those things in our head?
Wow. I took a 30-day journey, because I really wanted to focus on my purpose, because I knew I was here for a purpose, right? And what I found is, as I said earlier, I'm a server. I love giving, and I was working on a lot of projects that really weren't in alignment with my purpose. But really at that time, I had a vision, but I didn't know what my purpose is. And so I was looking back in my life. I really believe that a lot of the things that I went through, I've been through some traumatic experiences, just in my life, things that my journey, my difficulty, my roadblocks that I've overcame. I realized that those weren't for me, it was like I was taking that for granted, like showing up and so forth. So I really looked like, what was it I was doing all these years? And that's how I came up with Mompreneur. Is I learned how to balance, I want to say purposely off balance, family and life, and just show up and still have a positive mental attitude, still have a loving heart and so forth like that. So when I started looking at my purpose, I really looked at, the things that I've gone through in my life that I was kind of taking granted, my gifts and my talents that I took granted for, because people will come to you and say, how do you do this, Michele? How do you do that? And so I started listening to like the how-tos, and that's how I really came up to it, because people were always coming to me for business advice and like how to do this and that. So that's how I came up with my purpose. But, just look at your life, because your life is truly your journey and your purpose is in there.
Wow. So this is really interesting, because what you're doing is you're unpacking your entire process of your journey. But it sounds like there's a lot of calibration going on. It sounds like when you meet with people and you teach them your process, that there is something that they have to know about themselves. You seem to really know who you are. You know what I was thinking of, Michele? I wanted to kind of segue into your latest project. But prior to that, I want to talk about you as a person. We discussed in our first video here about how you are also a columnist for the Los Angeles Tribune. You're very productive. And I wanted to ask you, what experiences have you had as you're writing about life with a mompreneur? Have you been getting a lot of outpouring from people saying, yes, I can relate to this column? What things have touched your heart when you release an article and somebody responds to you?
As I said before, kind of is like we really identify us as moms also. So it's been very positive. And when I actually want to go back to, that's when really with the column, when I became a columnist, I was talking to our CEO, Dr. Natalie Forrest one time, and we were on a phone call together. And she was just asking, because I had mentioned in one of our meetings, I'm, really want to dig into my purpose. And we were talking. And so that's when I really launched my Mompreneur, was through the Los Angeles Tribune, called Mompreneur Conversations, and just really highlighting moms. I was talking about there's qualities in mothers that we don't even realize are qualities that make us great leaders in our business. I said, in leadership, we're working with, 2-year-olds, right? Negotiation, right? A 2-year is always saying no, and you got to get them to say yes. That's negotiations, right?
Right.
So it's just kind of changing the perspective, because sometimes we think as moms that our gifts that we have, the skills that we have, are only related to motherhood, but they're really related to leadership, entrepreneurship. So that's what I do. I like to take those skills that we have as moms and relate them to what we do in the real world. And it's really about that perspective and shifting it and opening up.
Wow. Well, we're having more questions flood in, Michele. But before that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Los Angeles Tribune, since we talked about your column here. What I wanted to bring up is that the Los Angeles Tribune is definitely a platform that's moving into all forms of media, but under the leadership of Mo Rock, the CEO, and as Michele Wilson has mentioned, Dr. Natalie Forrest, who's a COO. What they want to do is to build, and to get all of us on the team to build upon an amazing legacy. And this legacy has always surrounded some major principles that we here at the Los Angeles Tribune get behind. Why don't we learn a little more about the Los Angeles Tribune right now? And we'll get back with.
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We have earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
And we're back. So we're going to bring back again Michele Wilson. And we're going to start with our question and answer segment, Michele, because we're answering a lot of questions that I had, but I'd like to also ask some questions that we have more from the public. They're so impressed with you. In fact, the last comment we had with Phyllis Johnson, wow, Michele, I mean, this is how enthusiastic everyone is. I'm so excited that you're here. But before we get started with a few of their questions, I wanted to ask you as our guests, and as we ask all of our guests, about the big question. We're talking about the big question by Bucky Fuller, which is how to make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological damage or disadvantage to anyone. Michele, with the big question, what do you think your contribution is in answering that?
I really believe we are, as I said, going back to purpose, we were all put on this planet with a purpose. And I believe if we're working in our purpose together and we unite, and one reason we're here is to really give back to humanity. So I like I said, I was raised with a family that always gave. So I believe if we each understood the reason why we're here on this planet and give back in those areas, we can make a change, like one by one. It could be poverty, it could be homelessness, it could be like children who have medical issues. I mean, there's so many issues in our planet, and we're all touched by those things in our life. I've been touched by homelessness. So that's one area that I one of the foundations that I work with is the homeless foundation. So look at your life, your purpose, and how you can just give back. And giving back in your time, it could be giving back in your money, it could be giving back with your resources. But if we do it together, we can make a change. It's like that starfish, right? We each push the star, what's it, not pull, but put the starfish back in the sea, right? So if we keep doing that, I think we can come together collectively.
Oh, well, thank you. Beautiful, of course. All right. So why don't we pop up one of our questions here that we have from Batista Germond. How do you balance your health and wellness practice being so busy? Oh, wow.
That is an amazing question. So,
okay,
like I said, it's being purposely unbalanced, right? So there are times like this past year, I did a 12-week goal. And I said, okay, for 12 weeks, I am going to go to the gym 3 times a week. And through my goal planning process, I always look at my obstacles and solutions before I start a goal, because I need to know, like, my obstacles is my son. I got to take care of my son. If something happens to my son, then I may not be able to get to the gym. So instead of going to the gym, I could definitely go for a walk, right? So I look at the different solutions before I set a goal. So like for 12 weeks, I said, I'm going to focus on my health, So like maybe every 90 days, I will, switch my goals around when it comes to health. So I want to make sure, like right now, I'm on a 14-day detox, right?
Woo!
Because I really believe in regenerating. So I do these like, every 90 days is something in my health that I'm focusing on. But as always, I look at my obstacles and my solutions before I even set a goal, because I want to be proactive, because being a lot, I'm mom with a sick son, dog, and things come up all the time. So I think proactively, like I think of the solutions instead of the problems. So that's what I do.
Wow. And you mentioned about your son. You have 3 children. You have one son who is actually thriving really well beyond what people had thought.
Yeah.
And he's now, is he considered young adult now?
Yes, he's a young adult. He just turned 18. So I just went a whole through process with conservatorship and all that. So, and, now it's kind of weird because like, we got to talk to your son, but it's all good, but he's always telling me every day, he's my inspiration, because he's actually the last few weeks, he's been feeling a little bit worse than he normally does, but he's always saying, I'm getting better, Mom, tomorrow, I'm getting better. So he has that positive, proactive. I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, I'm okay. So he's that like silent warrior. And so I learned from him. When I think my days are going bad, I just look at my son. I'm like, you know what? I could have it worse. And I'm just so thankful and grateful.
Wow. We're talking about a legacy that you're leaving of mindset. And clearly you have the humility of learning all the time. But the fact that he is your son and you spent a lot of time with him. I've heard you in a previous interview that he still has a feeding tube.
Yes.
And so you have a lot of responsibilities. You have work, you're building, you're with the team now at Ignite Your Essence, which we're happy to have you. You write a column for Los Angeles Tribune. You have this amazing program that's growing, which is, teaches people how to balance or redefine the work-life balance. And you still find time for yourself. Where I'm going with this, and then I want to bump into another question by our guest, is I heard that you went on a cruise to take care of yourself. How do you do that when you have a son who has special needs, when you have all of these responsibilities, when you're on a cruise ship, sometimes you don't have good connections, so you can't really work remotely all the time. How did you do that? How did you people want to learn this? How do you take that step? How did you book it? What happened? What were you thinking?
I was thinking if I didn't take care of myself,
We lost you, sorry.
my health is so important. If I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of my son, because there's been many a times where I was ill and trying to get him to the hospital. But when that happened, I do have a caregiver that I have trained to help me when I'm not, able to be there for him. I have a lot of trust in God. I pray, because there was those times like, should I go or shouldn't I go? And then, I have family support also that's there for me. And then also I have an amazing team of doctors. I mean, literally I could pick up the phone and speak with a specialist and they're always there. I mean, there was one time where I was on a trip and he was sick and I had to come back and someone drove me home. I couldn't get on a plane and so forth. I was in the middle of a conference and so forth. There's been so many times where I'm somewhere and I had to come back. So I was prepared for that. If I was on a ship and my son's sick, then I would make arrangements to get back to my son.
Be prepared.
Be
Wow.
prepared.
And you knew exactly who the team was. You knew what all the players are. I think that's one of the hardest things, Michele, when you're a caretaker is sometimes people do have a lot of help, but they don't even know how to organize that. And it sounds like you have a system that you can share. I do have a question by Kathy McAfee that I feel that you are the perfect person to ask. And the question is, I'm going to pop that up again, excuse me. What can we do to improve the treatment and opportunities for mothers in the workforce? I feel like you can answer this.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Kathy. And it's really just giving them empathy and dignity. I always say that, we may not understand each what we're going through, but can't you relate to hurt and pain, right? Can't you relate to disappointment? Can't you relate to being exhausted? If we could just relate more to others and just acknowledge a mom like, hey, I know it's difficult. And it's not about complaining. It's just acknowledging that they are, going back to Worthy, that just acknowledging, hey, I know you're having a difficult time, but I believe in you, right? And just believe in them. I think just having that encouragement word is a way we can start shifting and not saying, oh, she's late because she has a sick son instead of the blame and so forth. We just need to have more empathy for mothers because, as I said, we're doing double duty.
Yeah, there's a lot of studies that say that women make a huge part of the workforce, especially here in the United States. And yet there's not a lot of sympathy or empathy
And we
for
get the job
the
done
mother.
still, so that's the thing. We have to hide, but we still get the job done, even though we might have people have this impression that we have babies on our hips and we're, taking phone calls. Maybe so, but we're still getting the job done, right? So
Right.
do
you remember that movie, Michele, 9 to 5?
Yes, I
With Dolly
do.
Parton. Okay. Remember when they were coming up, it was like a new concept in 9 to 5 came out and it was in the 1980s. And someone came up with flexible work schedules for mothers.
Yes.
And corporate America didn't want it. And this movie even tackled that. And then they were able to prove that, hey, they were more productive. Give mothers a break.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, we are very responsible in our home duties. Why does that make like we're not going to be responsible in our business duties? We just need to be more flexible in that to allow us so that we can be there both for our family and for our work and business.
Wow, you are an advocate for all mothers and working women. I love it. There was a question by Lauda Ibarra that I wanted to bring up, and she asked, how do you manage your daily agenda, and how are you ready for action in case you need to change plans when your family needs you? So there's two parts to that question, or two questions.
Perfect. Yeah, There, as I mentioned to you, that I've been part of a mastermind family for 12 years, and we talk about achievement. It's called the language of achievement. And I've learned how to master my daily plan by first creating a vision, like who I want to be in the next 5 years. And so that's kind of like my GPS system, like what do I want to accomplish in the next, who I want to be in 5 years. But I've learned that through my daily planning, I plan the month before the month begins, I plan the week before the week begins, and then I plan daily. But I know in my plan that I'm always going to have obstacles or distractions and so forth. But because I plan, I can go right back to it once I've been sidetracked, right? I've lost an hour, 2 hours. If I go back to my plan, I can say, oh, I could pick it up. So it's just being proactive and knowing what I need. I look at my planner, and I look at, first I put my family, my son, all his doctor's appointments, right? Because he has to go to a lot of specialists. So I put all those on my planner first, and then I work my business around that. And then I'm always adjusting. I kind of mentioned it. Balance is being like on a wire, like those wire people that used to walk around the
tightrope.
Right,
people, the tightrope. Okay,
right. So my life is like a tightrope, and there's no such as balance. You're always teeter. That's what I meant by the teeter-totting, because you're always like, when something goes this way, you got to go back this way. So I'm always doing that, but I still plan everything out, knowing that I'm going to have to teeter-totter each time. I'm going to have to readjust my schedule. I readjust my schedule all the time. So that's it.
Well, that's it.
I am complete.
Yeah.
So basically I'm saying there's never, it's never like I plan everything, but there's always changes. So I give myself grace, and sometimes things don't get done, and it's okay, because there is tomorrow. And I just, actually, what I don't get done today, I put it to tomorrow. So I have where I put it over to tomorrow. So that's how I get things done. If it doesn't get today, then I just move it over to the next day.
So I know we're asking a lot about your process, and I know, Michele, that you can teach people, and you've touched a lot of people. You've taught upwards of over 100 people, just coaching them with this process. My question to you is, though, as you're doing this, there's some people who just don't know how to plan. They're so overwhelmed. Could you kind of take us through, is there something that people can experience today where they can set a little plan that will help them to move further along, especially those caretakers and the mothers out there?
Yes, it starts with our dreams. Start dreaming again. Because I know before the process, I had stopped dreaming, and I didn't know what I wanted in life. So I just took some time and created like a dream list of just things that I wanted to become, like a trip I wanted to take. I actually wanted to write, and I also wanted to speak. And those are the things I put down on my dream list. So I started dreaming again. I just started there because I was overwhelmed, throughout life, just kind of life beating me down. So I started with just simply a dream list. So I activated my dreams again. So that's where I started. And then from there, I looked at what was like I wanted to achieve like in that year. And then I started with that dream. And then I keep breaking it down. But first, really just starting to vision again, activating your dreams again, because as moms, we are so in the doing and the day-to-day life and everything. And for me, I know I get not only just overwhelmed, but just like, is there anything else? Is there anything more? So I say activate your dreams.
Wow. I can really see, listening to you answer all these questions, when you talk about the tightrope, the tightrope that you walk on. When, teenage pregnancy, that you would think somebody would fall off that tightrope. A child that is special needs, most people would fall off the tightrope, and that's all they wrote. There's so many things, but yet you're teaching us that, hey, it's this little teeter, and we're gonna find our ways through. I know that there's a lot of people. I mean, I'm looking at the viewership right now. It's just growing and growing, Michele. And I'm pretty sure, just even looking by the comments here, that the viewers are not all mothers. And what you're touching on is something that we can all learn from. And even Kathy McAfee, she talked about how great advice: envision your dreams and then activate them. You're touching hearts here. And the reason why we really wanted to showcase you, Michele, is because you're one of the biggest co-hosts. You're hosting the morning show for Ignite Your Essence, actually debuting tomorrow on Wednesday mornings at 11 a.m. And a good host doesn't talk about themselves much. And we really wanted to showcase how amazing you are, and why, when everyone said, hey, are Wednesdays it? Is this all you're going to have with Ignite Your Essence? And we're like, oh, no, we have a plan. But we really wanted to make sure that you had your time to shine, because it just really shows when you ask those awesome questions, and when you have these beautiful guests coming forward. Now we have the authority behind it for those who want to know, well, who's this woman speaking here? But more importantly, from this point, Michele, I wanted to talk about why you always feel like you want to build. What keeps you going? Because you said activate your dreams. Well, some people's dreams are just to be on the beach and sip a cocktail. Do you have dreams like that, or are you always building?
I do have dreams like that. So
Oh, okay.
going back to, I want to, a home on the beach so that I can have, peace and serenity. So I do have that. So I love to build. And then I also want to just be on the beach. So, your dreams is what fulfills you and make you happy. And one of my dreams is really, is to impact others, because I know how it was when I was going through my journey. And there were many times where I fell off the wire. There were many times I felt alone. There were many times that I felt like I wasn't going to be able to get back on the wire, but through, there's something deep inside me, this core inside me, which I know is God. He always, he's that light, and he was always brought me back up. But, there were times when I had dark moments. So I fell off the wire a few times, laid there for a few times, but I was able to get back up. So, my passion is to really be able to help people not fall off the wire, and just be able to help them learn how to really, go through life, being fulfilled with their dreams, but also being there for their families. And you said it's not just about mom entrepreneurs. I do work with entrepreneurs too, but entrepreneurs also face the same thing. How can they be there for their family? How can they be there for their friends and still build a business? So really, mompreneurship, it's really about any entrepreneur that really wants to be there, present for their family, for their friends, and be there for their business.
Yes. Wow. You're so relatable, which is why you're going to be such an amazing talk show host, because of the fact that you've really been there. We use the term all the time, Michele, in the trenches, and you definitely have been in the trenches. And like a lot of us, you have lied in the trenches and said, gee, I got to get out of the trenches, back on that tightrope. But it's that relatability, Michele, that really matters, because people are looking for connection. It's no mystery that we have a pandemic still going on, and people feel like they've fallen off that tightrope. What do you have to say to them to encourage them to get back on and to activate those dreams?
Your life does matter, and your dreams does matter. You matter as humanity. You were put here on this earth for a purpose. And I always say, don't give up. I just didn't give up. That's what kept me going, is even though those times where I wanted to feel like I wanted to give up, but I just didn't give up. But it's really that we all matter. We all have purpose, and there is someone there that you can, sometimes we focus on ourselves so much. I know for me, I focus on others. So that's another way how I get out the ditches. Instead of focusing on my issues and problems, I look at the world. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something much bigger than me. And so that's another way I've been able to get out the ditch, because it's not always about me.
Which is why you work so well in a team. Yeah. It's not all about you.
No, it's not all about me.
Michele, when you come across somebody that really ignites you, and that Dame Doria Cordova in our first episode, she talked about purring, when people purr. What happens to you? Do you get energized, or do you have to be by yourself in order to recharge? Where do you sit in that spectrum?
Well, actually, recharging, I do like to be by myself to recharge. But when it comes to serving, and when I love people who don't think they have a dream, right? Or they don't think they have a purpose. And I just love people where they're at. and I just listen. I'm a really great listener. And to see someone grow, that is so fulfilling for me. And so I love just to be there to, hold space for someone so that they can just sometimes work, because it's within us. So they just need someone just to hold space. They don't need advice. They don't need the how-tos. They just need someone to be able to talk to. So there's been quite a few people in my life that I've been able just to be there, listen to them, and guide them. So I'd rather be a guide than, kind of a coach and tell you what to do.
Right. And Kimberly Todd Toulis says Michele as a talk show host is a dream come true. I'm so proud of her, and she's just getting started. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm
clearly
excited about that because I love people's stories. I love hearing people's stories. I learned from people's stories, but that's what I'm really excited about. And so honored to be, a host in the Los Angeles Tribune because I get to interview and listen to people's stories, which I love doing anyway. So I'm really excited about it.
Oh, I love it too. And already people are using all of your sayings. Oh gosh, Kathy McAfee, she's one of our biggest fans. If you guys haven't checked out Kathy McAfee, she did an episode a couple of episodes ago, and she is the fearless leader. She has an amazing program. I just wanted to give her props there because actually all of our listeners and our commenters, we just are so excited to have everyone. So Michele, you got a lot of fan base already happening for Thursday's show. What makes it unique according to your way of meeting with people? How do you want to convey communication with people? How do you want to pull out their essence? I know I'm putting you on the spot with this, but I know you can handle this.
I just really want just the authenticity, because I believe, when you're relatable, I want to bring out the story that, everyday folks that have, they know that there's something there, but they just don't quite know the answer. And through people's stories, because like I relate to other moms who are going through the same journey. So I want to bring other, backgrounds, people to the show to share their story, because we all are touching people, but my story might not touch someone else's story. So my goal is to really to connect, understand the backstory, because a lot of times people will see me like, oh, I arrived. No, I didn't just arrive. I had to work, I went through a lot. So I really want to, show, kind of like the background, what we did to come to be the person that we are today. So really, I want to talk about, your passion, like why are you passionate, but I want to learn about your backstory too.
Wow, we have so much in common. I feel that the world is so hungry for that type of authenticity. Okay, I'm going back again to television shows, but I think it's interesting because most people get a lot of education from television shows and movies. And so for us not to give any credence to them, I think would be silly. I was thinking about all of those leaders that we see on shows, and we very rarely see them like slumped up against the wall, crying, upset that things didn't fall, things fell through. I mean, these are real-time things that happen in entrepreneurship, and to be able to connect with people and to create a nice warm space, Michele, so that you can say, hey, we're going to support you and showcase you in the best light that we can, but we want you to bring who you are. Will you be comfortable with us? And I feel that this is what Ignite Your Essence is about. Do you feel that this is something that we can grow upon, or where do you think this is going when we're talking about igniting the essence?
I love Ignite Your Essence. When I was asked to become part of the team, I was so thankful and grateful because it's so in alignment. I believe even Dame Doria said on your show, your first show, she talked about team and, knowing your purpose. Then what happens is it aligns with people that are on the same path as your purpose. So Ignite Your Essence is part of my purpose. I know that there's a greater me and I can't do it alone. And I've been, all this year I've been, dreaming and thinking and wanting a team that I can grow with, because as we said earlier, there's no such thing as solopreneur anymore. But you've got to really understand, and you may not understand your purpose right away, but understand what it is you want in life. But that's kind of my guiding light, is like, now that I know what my purpose is, I use that as a gauge when I'm speaking with someone. And then, if I have that energy, I'm like, yeah, we're on the right track. And then if it's depleting me, I'm like, oh no, we're on the wrong track. So
we're on the tightrope.
Right,
balance.
being on the tightrope, so because there's definitely people who want to pull you off the tightrope,
Right?
So, just I always let people where they're at, but I also am very aware and I recognize that. But it's always a work in progress. It's always I'm always shifting because I learned something new. I'm like, oh, I didn't see it like that. So now I see it this way. So for me, it's just being a lifetime learner. I am a master of self and spiritual growth. And so when I'm on that path, I just know that every day I want to be a better version of me.
Every day you want to be a better version of you. And this is why, Michele, I was so happy when you accepted this offer to allow yourself to shine as you are, because being behind the camera as a host is totally different, but being able to really show who you are, I feel, is so wonderful. The world is a better place because you're on this planet. You're helping so many people, but to now have our viewers be able to see why Michele Wilson, why Michele Wilson's going to be on Thursday. It's incredible because of the fact that we're going to do this back-to-back thing going on. We got the evenings, we got the mornings, and we're going to be able to pour into everyone, right, Michele? Pour into them.
And I have to just share a story because we met on Clubhouse, right?
We
and
did.
I remember every time I was listening to you, Michele, I was like, oh my gosh, she is so elegant. She is so versed in the world. She's so, everything you said, I was like, I want to, sometimes we want to be that person. We got to be ourselves. But I just remember being on Clubhouse. I was always mesmerized with you and just how you ran a room and so forth. And now look, I like, wow, I keep saying we were orbiting the universe and then God put us together. But I just remember when we first met on Clubhouse, and then I was just always at awe when you were moderating. I just thought you were an amazing human being. And even now when we get on the phone together, we're always talking about everything else, but
I know work.
We have to do, right?
The feeling's mutual, Michele. You used to sit on those stages. If you guys don't know about Clubhouse, you should probably get on it. And it's an audio-based application. And prior, when it first launched, Michele, please fill in here. When it first started, you had to be invited to be on Clubhouse. Somebody had to vouch for you. So there weren't a lot of trolls because people could tell who vouched for you. And so what it did is it created this space where a lot of people were grounded because of they weren't able to fly to or do business engagements, speeches, or anything. And they got on Clubhouse. I got on Clubhouse because I said, wow, I'd like to connect with people other than, in my home. I absolutely love my wife, but, it was only the two of us during the pandemic. And to connect with people.
Yeah. And I actually found my voice on Clubhouse because going back to, being professional, I always, being professional, can't talk about my past, those are just things that were going on in my head. Right. But the Clubhouse app allowed me to talk about my journey and my past and things that I really hid from people, and so it allowed me to really find my voice. And when I got to share in those rooms and so forth, so now I get to embrace all of me and share. But I just love, just that community that we have on Clubhouse because we can truly show up. It's different showing up on video and live and everything like that. But when you're on the app, for some reason, like I said, it brings that warmth, and really that authenticity where you can really just share your heart.
I so agree. In fact, Michele, I feel it's really hard for someone. You have to be a really good liar to pretend that you're somebody else when you're on an application that just uses your voice.
Right.
Because a lot of times our brains, well, you teach mindset in your coaching, our brains will deceive us. So what we see, we're thinking, oh yeah, that's that person. But then, it takes a long time to figure out that their words aren't matching, what you're actually seeing, and vice versa. But when you're hearing audibly what's going on, it's amazing what that happens there. And now the Los Angeles Tribune is taking it a little further. We're taking this ability to be able to communicate with people a little more on a looser, more casual level because we have this live platform. And because it's live, it's a little glitchy at times, but it gives us this opportunity to be able to showcase guests and people and organizations that we really want to showcase in a different light other than like a marketing sheet. Do you understand where I'm going here, Michele?
Absolutely. When we did our special giving, it was so amazing that I got to, highlight some of the organizations that I work with, because a lot of times those organizations, they're doing it all alone. And, a lot of times they don't have those marketing budgets to, get the word out. And so I thought that was really amazing that we were able to come together and to share our favorite charities. I thought that was awesome, just to give them, some exposure and so forth. So
and we only just begun, Michele.
Begun.
Right, because we haven't really made this public, and we probably should do that more now, right, Michele? That is one of the mainstays and one of the pillars of Ignite Your Essence, is that we will always showcase organizations that are nonprofit that are really doing the work. And it just made me happy, that episode that we had. Plus, we got to showcase the team. We couldn't have everybody, but yeah, it's and
even the Los Angeles Tribune, they're having an initiative. When I read, they had an article that their initiative about charities and so forth. So, going back to Bucky's statement, right?
Bucky Fuller, yes.
Bucky Fuller. His big question, that's the big question, right? We're able to come together and talk about these organizations that are serving the public, and they're not getting recognition. So we get to highlight them. So that's really key for me.
Yes, it's exciting. It's exciting to get this beautiful opportunity and this amazing organization that we just saw the video of, right, from the 1800s, and we're building on that, and we're able to actually do good works. And Los Angeles Tribune is a platform, but they're an organization with a heart, and it's probably the leadership, don't you think? Mo Rock and Dr. Natalie.
It's phenomenal to work with Mo and with Natalie, because we're bringing good news, right? Instead of the negative, like CNN, I don't know if I can say this, but continue negative news. When you hear the news, it's always negative. And so I love the Los Angeles Tribune, because you can have a platform that there is real good, positive content and media out there, and we get to highlight it, and we get to spotlight it on the Los Angeles Tribune. So I love their approach that we are looking at news differently.
Yes, and to have Ignite Your Essence to be able to work alongside, because it seems like attracts like. And the one thing that I wanted to point out, since our viewers know jig is up, everybody knows, Michele, tune in on Wednesdays,
Thursdays
for this, and then Thursdays at 11 with Michele. And one of the things, Michele, that we really want to make sure we drive home is that Ignite Your Essence is all about focusing on inspiration, education, and experiential in some way. And I feel that it's such a perfect platform with Los Angeles Tribune to do that. We talked about Clubhouse, though, and I'm going to pop this up because Shmiko Cole put this down here. Guys, there's an Ignite Your Essence Clubhouse room. Do join it. We just formed it because we wanted to make sure that we had everything streamlined, and we are going to talk and discuss, and a lot of people that we meet, of course, we're going to take you offline, and we want to showcase, but also those who have been with us in the past, and Michele, you're going to be hosting a lot of those rooms as well, moderating, as we call it, will be able to also have more interaction. This is top media engagement, people, and this is something that we want to build. So if you really like what's going on, go to that link down below that Shmiko Cole had posted, and you will join the Ignite Your Essence Club. And then we're going to host some rooms in there. I'm so excited about that.
I'm excited too.
Because it's part of our legacy, right?
Right. We get to, talk on the show, but really it's that interaction, right? That engagement, getting to know each other. So I'm really excited about our Clubhouse room that we'll be able to really, learn and speak, because I'm always open to growth. So I'm looking forward to it.
Growth. And and Carol Dysart says, hi, Carol. She said, I love all the topics you covered today. People love hearing your methods. Michele, thanks for bringing the great news to us. Oh, thank you so much, Carol.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Oh man, I just don't want this to end, but this could go on, and we'd probably have to get our pajamas on here. But Michele, you do have this program that you have with the Mompreneur universe, and I really wanted to showcase that, but also really let people get to know who this amazing woman is behind the camera on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Tune in tomorrow at the debut with Adora Evans is your first guest, correct?
Yes, and I just want to remind you, it's Thursday. We're on Thursdays at 11.
Thursdays. I said Tuesday, didn't I?
And then the thing is, we got two Michelles. I'm Michele with one L. You're Michele with two L's. And yeah, so I'm on
Wilson and Quevedo.
And yeah, and I get to host, oh my gosh, Adora Evans. She has an amazing book called Majestic Money that I've been reading. And so
Majestic Money. I love that name.
Majestic Money, but it's the feminine side of money. So I'm really excited to be speaking and get to interview her. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'm excited too. And Anna Coani, she said amazing. So we are just so happy to have you here, and also with the team. And Thursdays at 11. I'm so excited to see the interview and be part of that. And I wanted to thank you so much, Michele, for taking the time. And clearly you kept everybody engaged. Everybody's very, very happy to be here. And I wanted to also remind everyone here to Ignite Your Essence who have tuned in that there's ways to engage with us. We just got started. This is our 5th episode, and we're just exploding with engagement. So we want to encourage you to please contact us more. We want to engage more. We are going to bring even bigger guests, as we talked about. And I don't mean like bigger, more popular, even though, yeah, a lot of these people are very established. But our main goal is to showcase and amplify the good in all by people who are doing good for all. And that's one of our main goals here, not only at the Los Angeles Tribune, but for Ignite Your Essence. And I'd like to ask everyone to please make sure when you go to our YouTube channels on both the Los Angeles Tribune and Ignite Your Essence, click on the like and follow us, and also follow us on all our social media. We have our Facebook pages as well as Instagram, because we want to stay connected with you. And if you want to know what's coming up, we will try our best to make sure that you know through those quicker channels. And also too, you saw all of these questions and the engagement. We want to speak with you. So please tap in here and take advantage of the opportunity with these amazing experts that we have on Ignite Your Essence. And with that, I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm going to pop up Michele here to say goodbye, but here we go, Michele. And hello. And I just want to say
hello and goodbye. But
hello and goodbye.
It's been such an honor and so much fun to be with you today, Michele. And I'm sure you're going to join me on 11. We'll definitely have to do a co-host. But
definitely. And when this pandemic kind of dies down, it'll be exciting to actually be in a live studio with you, Michele.
Yes.
But how wonderful. Talk about looking for the gratitude in things. How wonderful can we be in different areas and still be able to touch lives and meet people and live with that. But I'm going to end up with my favorite saying, and Michele, you can end everything with yours. But I want to remind everyone that I wanted to thank you for tuning in on these Wednesdays. And of course, don't forget Michelle's show on Thursdays at 11. And I wanted to also thank you from the bottom of my heart and the team, and also remind you to always look for reasons to smile. And Michele, you can close it out.
We're here to ignite your essence. So stay ignited. Thank you.
Bye.